times, the scripture depicts him as Elohim. The context of passages do tell us when really passage is referring to him or the Father. At times, the passage may refer to him as Yahweh, the Lord, and that is very common in the New Testament. The Lord, as they put it in the English translation that Bibles of today use. But the true name of our Master is Yahshua. Now, he is the initiator in terms of creation. Is there? He is the controller of heavens and earth. In terms of creation, he was there, making sure that everything he created were in order, according to the book of Genesis chapter 1. He is the designer, the master planner and designer. He is the life, and life is about him in creation. The Bible said all things were created by him, and without him nothing was created. Life is sacrosanct, and no man should destroy it. So he created everything, particularly the living organisms, put life in them, more importantly, human being. When we got to chapter 8, we read about Noah, where he told Noah in the covenant he was making, specifically that all humans have life, and life constitutes, blood constitutes what life is. So no man should shed another one's blood. By that, he was telling us that life is sacrosanct. Life is something that lies in his hand. We cannot destroy it. We cannot take it away. So we must be mindful of that because he is life. Colossians chapter 1 verse 16 talks about Yahshua in this way. For in him all things were created. So he is the masterpiece. In everything that was created, he is there. The one that was handling it. Things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones and powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. Colossians 1:16. Nehemiah also offered similar thinking. And in Nehemiah 9 verse 6 we read, you alone are Yahweh. Here, put in Yahshua. You created the heavens, the highest heavens with all their hosts, the earth and all that is on it, the seas and all that is in them. You gave life to all things, and the heavenly host worship you. Nehemiah 9 verse 6. We read in John chapter 1 verse 3, through him, Yahshua, all things were made, and without him nothing was made that was made. In verse 14, we also see that the word was made flesh. So Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 said, in the beginning Elohim created. That is the word. And in John chapter 1 verse 1 that says, in the beginning, he is the word. Right from the beginning, right from Genesis. And the word in verse 14 of Genesis chapter 1 was made flesh. So he's been there, and he is the author and creator of all things, controller of all things. John chapter 1 verse 10 says, he was in the world, and though the world was made through him, the world did not know or recognize him. Just unfortunate. And this is why we are digging deep to understand what went wrong. The world he created, he came even to the world he created. The world did not recognize him. The world rejected him. Why? Romans chapter 9 verse 5 offered similar statement. Romans chapter 11 36, 1 Corinthians 8 6, Ephesians chapter 1 verse 10, Ephesians chapter 1 verse 20 and 21. Verse 21 I read, Ephesians chapter 1 21. For above all rule and authority, power and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this age, but also in the one to come. The one that possesses all power, all authority. He is in charge. He is the ruler, the governor of the earth, the whole earth. Colossians 1 verse 20, and through him, Yahshua, to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth or things in heaven, by making peace through the blood of his stake. By making peace through the blood. Even when mankind rejected him, rejected the Father, he didn't relent. He continued to chase man. He continued to pursue man. He came, even surrendered himself, and made sure that by his life and his blood, man should be delivered and reconciled with the Father. Galatians 2:15, and having disarmed the powers and authorities, he made an public spectacle of them. That is, those forces of darkness, demons and so on, trampling over them by the stake, by the tree. He fought for us. He won the battle. He gave us victory. And he reconciled us, that is the believers, to the Father. Hebrews chapter 1 verse 2. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, Yahshua, whom he appointed heir of all things, and through whom he made the universe. We can see that how the Bible has proved without any iota of doubt, even the New Testament, that he is the creator, Yahshua himself. And he appointed him to take charge of all things, even the universe. Colossians chapter 2, verse 10 and 15, in a bit of summary says, and ye are complete in him, which is the head of all principality and power. Yahshua is completeness of everything. And we are tracing. He is the original seed. The word that was made flesh. The one that came in human flesh, took the rightful place given to him by the Father, that in these latter days he will return to rule the universe he made, the entire human beings. Now, we begin to look at how this is sequencing, flowing. And we look at chapter 8, chapter 9. In chapter 9, we saw the first covenant that was pronounced and called covenant. Before then, we saw genealogy. Genesis of creation, revived in renewed covenant of Mount Sinai, provides us the genesis of all things. Genesis, when you talk about Genesis, number one, you look at who created, where, everything started with him. Genesis of Yahshua, This is the book of the Genesis of Yahshua Messiah, the scripture quoted, which facilitates the links of every Genesis. Genesis of man, Genesis of creature, and all the things that we are created. Genesis of man's fall, sin, that is the disobedience of Yahweh's word. Genesis of science, Genesis of languages, Genesis of murder, Genesis of adultery, fornication, Genesis of lies, betrayal, Genesis of covetousness, all came from the book of Genesis we have been studying. We have been studying from the beginning of all these, starting point of all these, the good things, the evil things. Now, that because of evil that he saw will come, as man live his life, he introduced covenant. If you do this, I will do this. If you do this, I will do this. So Yahweh has been very, very careful to do all he has proposed, given to mankind, and called mankind to follow suit. But the problem has been that mankind has not been paying attention. Now, Genesis chapter 9, we read about these 3 children, the sons of Noah. They became, after man has rebelled, corrupted the old world, caused disobedience, caused wickedness, caused so much corruption. Everything that was made decayed, including human beings, including animals, land, everything decayed. So they got to be wiped out. He wiped them out. He spared Noah and his 3 sons, the wife and the 3 wives of the sons. Since Noah's 3 sons have populated the entire present world, it is only fitted that we would know something of those who followed them. Interestingly, though academics tend to scoff at the Bible, they grudgingly admit that the 10th chapter of Genesis, which we are studying now, is the most accurate and complete document of its kind pertaining to the origination of the nations and races. So this evening we want to look at what is called Table of Nations. How these 3 children now took mantle of leadership, how they began to live on their own, and each one assumed to be a race that begets a nation and nations that followed. And through them, humanity spread all over the world. As Yahweh said, they will spread, they will multiply, they will increase, and they will spread, they will disperse. It would not be inaccurate to say that, generally speaking, Shem populated Asia, Ham populated Africa, and Japheth, populated Europe. Of course, there are exceptions. Now, there has been crisscrossing movement of the people, one nation, one group of people, at times moving en mass, moving into other nations, occupying their space, The children of Japheth has been doing that. And we saw that last week, that children of Japheth were, by the blessings of the fathers, or the father, as Noah, unto them, said, Japheth will spread, Japheth will enlarge, even into the place of Shem. And even Ham will be servant to both of them, Shem, and Japheth. So Japheth appears to be everywhere. And if you can understand what we want to study this evening, if you pay attention carefully, you will notice that the corrupt world today is where it is because of what transpired between these three persons, these three children, particularly Ham and Japheth. As we look at what we have, we will see that nations, as they are divided, Asia, talk about Shem, Ham, talk about Africa, Japheth, talk about Europe, that they have, different languages as well they speak. Because when they were scattered, when humanity, got scattered all over the world, each family or each race took to a particular language they were speaking. Now, we want to look at these critically, but before we continue to look at these three children, how they became what we see today, or where the world is today, we will want to have an overview of what Isaiah said, particularly in these latter days. Isaiah made a statement, a very critical one. Isaiah chapter 60. Isaiah chapter 60. Let me see if I can use another Bible to read it for us. Isaiah chapter 60. Okay. Arise, Jerusalem, let your light shine for all to see. For the glory of Yahweh rises to shine on you. Darkness as black as night covers all nations of the earth. But the glory of Yahweh rises and appears over you. All nations will come to your light. This is Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is Israel. All nations will come to your light. Mighty kings will come to see your radiance. Look and see, for everyone is coming home. Everyone is coming home. This is prophecy that is yet to be fulfilled. It hasn't happened yet. You sons are coming from distant lands. Your little daughters will be carried home. Your eyes will shine, and your heart will thrill with joy. For merchants from around the world will come to you. They will bring you the wealth of many lands. Vast caravans of camels will converge on you. The camels of Midian and Ephah, the people of Sheba, will bring gold and frankincense and will come worshiping Yahweh. The flocks of Kedar will be given to you, and the rams of Nebalot will be brought for my altars. I will accept their offerings, and I will make my temple glorious. And what do I see? Flying like clouds to Israel, like doves to their next. They are ships from the ends of the earth, from lands that trust in me. Led by the great ships of Tarshish. They are bringing the people of Israel home from far away, carrying their silver and gold. They will honor Yahweh, Yah Elohim, the Holy One of Israel, for he has filled with splendor. Foreigners will come to rebuild your towns, and their kings will serve you. For though I have destroyed you in my anger, I will now have mercy on you through my grace. Your gates will stay open day and night to receive the wealth of many lands. The kings of the world will be led as captives in a victory procession. The nations that refuse to serve you will be destroyed. The glory of Lebanon will be yours. The forest of cypress, fir, and pine to beautify my sanctuary. My temple will be glorious. The descendants of your tormentors will come and bow before you. Those who despised you will kiss your feet. They will call you the city of Yahweh, and Zion of the Holy One of Israel. Though you were once despised and hated, with no one traveling through you, I will make you beautiful forever, a joy to all generations. Powerful kings and mighty nations will satisfy your every need, as though you were a child nursing at the nest of a queen. You will know at last that I, Yahweh, am your Savior and your Redeemer, the mighty one of Israel. I will exchange your bronze and gold, your iron for silver, your wood for bronze, and your stones for iron. I will make peace your leader. And righteousness your ruler. Violence will disappear from your land. The desolation and the destruction of war will end. Salvation will surround you like city walls, and praise will be on the lips of all who enter there. No longer will you need the sun to shine by day, nor the moon to give its light by night. For Yahweh your Elohim will be your everlasting night, and your Elohim will be your glory. Your sun will never set, your moon will not go down. For Yahweh will be your everlasting light. Your days of mourning will come to an end. All your people will be righteous. They will possess their land forever. For I will plant them there with my own hands, in order to bring myself glory. The smallest family will become 1,000 people, and the tiniest group will become a mighty nation. At the right time, I, Yahweh, will make it happen. Amen. Eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, neither has it entered into the heart of man what Yahweh has planned, has kept for his people, that he will give to us in these last days. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. The nations of the world, if you listened carefully, that reading, show that Israel were not only impoverished, were not only put into cage, enslaved, misappropriated in terms of everything. Everything of theirs were taken away by their masters, their slave masters. But Yahweh here was comforting them. In no longer time, they will rejoice again. They will return to their land. They will possess their possession. At a point, he said, darkness covered the earth. Did you hear that when he said, darkness covered the earth? What brought about the darkness covering the earth? When the Gentiles, Japheths, children of Japheth, rose into power, spread all over the world, scattered all over the world, encroached to children of Shem, exploited Ham, because Ham is into perpetual slavery, or servants. Is equal to slavery. At the end of the day, they continue to exploit everywhere. Now they had their own way of life, the life that is outside the way of Yahweh. And everybody flocked around them, the children of Japheth. They had their own laws outside the laws of Yahweh. They had their own deity, their own gods, their own Lord they worship outside Yahweh and Yahshua. They have their own way of thinking, their own way of doing things. So that is the darkness that caused on earth, because the way of man is full of darkness. And because they are ahead, they led everybody into their own thought, their own way of life. And everybody sank into darkness. So you see that darkness has covered everywhere. But the children of Yahweh will be delivered soon. Amen. As soon as they are delivered, Yahshua himself is going to be their light. They wouldn't need any sun. They wouldn't need any moon. Because he is going to make them shine again. They are going to be radiant. They are going to exhume the very radiance which they have into nations. And they will brighten up nations. They will cause the whole nations of the world to shine. So the act of Ham and Japheth in particular, we cease. If you don't have a chilling running down your spine, as that was read, at least reading some portions, your heart will be echoing amen concerning what Yahweh has proposed to do for us. Then, if you don't have that chill, then it means you didn't listen very carefully or pay attention to what Yahweh is about to do. Our generation is in the midst of this very event that is described in Isaiah chapter 60. This is about the people of Yahweh, Jews and Israelites alike, returning to the land of Israel. But even more, it is about all Israelites returning to Israel. We will get into this more fully in the months as we study the book of Genesis to discover how this darkness ensued, caused everywhere to be so dark that everybody is crying, even in the midst of the darkness. And how Yahweh will intervene using Israel to brighten the world again, to make Israel a place, to make the world a place of lively living. There are other Israelite tribes in existence in Asia who will be returning to the land very soon. Yes, the Bible talked about, the children of Japheth, who is within the Europe, children of Shem, who is in Asia, and Ham in Africa. Ostensibly, when you look at the children of Israel, the 12 tribes that are all over the world, you can find out that they are also spread across the universe, the world. But they are dominated by children of Japheth. They are dominated by children of Japheth. And that is causing serious harm and crisis to them. Ezekiel 37 also offers solace, peace, comfort to what we just read of what is yet to happen. Ezekiel 37 and Ezekiel chapter 20, Isaiah 11. So many Bible passages assure us that Yahweh will soon return. He's going to send his son to come and accomplish what he has proposed, particularly as we read in book of Isaiah chapter 60. Now let's look at what we have. Let's look at the board and see what is going on. We are talking about seed. We are talking about the seed that began from children of Noah. Now let's look at Shem. We are looking at Shem to Abraham, seed. Yahweh is interested. If you look at the genealogies, Yahweh has been tracing, picking all those that will be qualified to benefit, to return to Jerusalem, to return to Israel, that will enjoy tomorrow's world. Yahweh began the new world of Noah by choosing, separating mankind. Yahweh's people must separate themselves from Gentile nations. If you must be counted worthy or in number of the seed that Yahweh is picking, selecting, choosing by himself, you must endeavor to separate yourself from the Gentile world. Revelation 18 verse 4 warns us that we must do so as a matter of necessity and even urgency. What is separating yourself? The beginning of separating yourself is refraining from doing what the Japhites and the people of Ham are doing. Because they cause darkness. So come out from darkness. Everywhere is gloomy with darkness. Everywhere is filled with darkness. Now, how can there be light? There will be no light. Inasmuch as you are doing what they are doing. Inasmuch as you are arrogating yourself to those things, Yahweh says, don't join them. Revelation 18 verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people. Come out of Japheth and Ham, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Because they constitute what is called Babylon. We are going to look at Babylon, how Babylon came about. This warning strictly, Revelation chapter 8 is talking about Babylon. But who constitutes Babylon? How did Babylon come about? By the time you scan through Japheth, you will see Babylon standing alone and covering the whole earth. And it has covered the whole earth. Numbers 16 verse 21. Numbers 16 verse 21. Even when they were in the wilderness, Yahweh said, look, you must separate yourself. You must, as a matter of policy, learn to separate yourself from Babylon, from the Gentile world, or else you'll be like them. And when their darkness covers you, that's it. You can't escape. You can't. Separate yourself. I'm reading Numbers chapter 16, verse 21. Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment. These are congregation of Ham that joined them in the wilderness. Congregation of Ham. Because in Egypt is Ham. When they were leaving Egypt, there were multitude of them as well from Egypt that followed them. Said, you must learn to separate yourself. Wherever you are, even in the place of work, be careful. What you say, what you talk, how you relate, how you interact, how you join, how you mix, how you say, they say. Be very, very careful. All we are learning, we are studying, and it's warning us at the same time. Nehemiah. Yahweh cannot hide anything to Israel. But has Israel got ears to hear him when he speaks to them? Has Israel got ears to hear Yahweh? Yahweh is full of warning. Be careful so that you do not join them. Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 28. Nehemiah 10:28. 10:28. And the rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, the potters, the singers, the Nethinims, and all they that had separated themselves from the people of the lands unto the law of Elohim, their wives, their sons, and their daughters, everyone having knowledge and having understanding. They were careful when they were returning from Babylon to make sure that even in the land they are entering, which was occupied by the Gentiles, they must separate themselves. Amen. You learn to separate yourself. Yes, that is what Yahweh is calling us to do. Even now. Because what you are studying here, these children of Noah, got along the line, they got mixed up again, intermarrying. Despite the fact that they were scattered, each race went to their own, but they began to, intermarry. They began to find themselves together. And in these last days is worse. They say, come, let us unite. Let us be one. One religion, one world government. It is coming. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. I read Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 6. If you don't flee out of the midst of Babylon. So we are talking about Babylon. And where is Babylon? We are going to find out. So search out the rest of Micah passages. You have Micah chapter 4, verse 10, Ephesians chapter 5, verse 7, and others. Now, covenant in chapter 9 was established on principle of obedience. Blessings and curses placed on the three boys. So Yahweh placed, by covenant he made with, Noah, the three sons were also involved. And all the children that they were going to bear, plus others, generation after generation. This is the beginning of making covenant with all mankind. All mankind. So the table of nations, as we said, starts from Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Let's begin with Ham. We learned that Ham was caused by Noah. So the line of Ham was affected, particularly Canaan. Canaan was singled out on that cause. We read that last week. And if we look at Canaan, Canaan is found within the Middle East of today. When Yahweh was taking Israel back to the land of Canaan, so that they will destroy the Canaanites, when they keep to his word, follow sequentially how he wants them to deal with all these people. Do not mix with them, separate yourself from them. Then gradually they will remove them from the land, and they will occupy the whole of the land of Canaan. Following the curse that was laid on their head, they will all perish. But unfortunately, some of them were left, and they rose against them. Yahweh said, if you do not, keep to his word, to Yahweh's word, the enemies will rise against you and defeat you and become head. So that was what happened. So the people of Jebusites, Philistines, Gigashites, Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, Sinites, there are about 11 of them, 11 of these nations. Unfortunately, they were not all conquered. And some of them are living today. Most of them are those that you see, they want to walk with their head. If you see them on the road, they go virtually naked. They don't flow in anything that is called righteousness. They don't know the way of Yahweh. And that's why Yahweh wanted them to be exterminated. And don't miss it. In these latter days, Yahweh says he's going to clear them with the children of Edom. Amen. He's going to clear them. Children of Moabites. Ammon. He's going to clear them. They're going to go. Now, Ham had or beget Cush. Cush is Ethiopia. Ethiopia today. Just mark all these names. They are very, very vital for you to know who is who and who is living where and what you should do in terms of marriage and in terms of relationship, in terms of doing everything that you're doing. You are not segregating. You are doing what Yahweh says you should do so that you know how to keep your life safe and do his bidding. Mizram is Egypt. Put is Libya. Canaan, as we said, they are the land of Canaan, which is the very spot and the very place that was promised. From there, Israel would have stretched from river of Egypt down to river of Euphrates. But unfortunately, they did not obey to achieve that. That caused them so much. And today they are not in that land because of disobedience. So in Genesis chapter 10, verse 6, we saw this Ham. And we saw the offspring of Ham as they were articulated. And that's what I've just read. Canaan worshipped Baal. Canaan worshipped Baal. And Baal is sun god. Depending on the nation that borrowed from, because all nations of the world at the end of the day ended up borrowing Baal. Canaan went to Japheth to take the god of Japheth, which is Baal. So Canaan, remember, is from Ham. He picked the god of Japheth. Japheth is the owner of Baal. Whereas all these other nations, Shem and Ham, supposed to worship the living Yahweh. But you see Ham leaving Yahweh and going after Baal, which Japheth acquired, which is called sun god. Now in Babylon, at that time, in the place of Japheth, it was called Baal, Marduk, and Molech. Marduk and Molech, it was later coined by Canaanites, to those names. In fact, they even call it Baal, Marduk, and Molech. They got it from Babylon. Nimrod's god image became Baal. Ninus, who built Nineveh. So Nimrod, at the end of the day, who was called Baal, the popular name being Ninus, because he built the city of Nineveh. Now, let's look at verse 8 in the same chapter 10. Verse 8 is trying to let us know about Cush. Cush is from Ham. Cush is from Ham. And Ham is Africa. We have noted that. And you find out that Cush is the father of Nimrod. So Nimrod is from Africa. Nimrod is a black man. Cush, father of Nimrod. Cush is Ethiopia. That is the name or the nation called Cush is Ethiopia. They are black people. And Nimrod is from there. Was a black man. Nimrod and his people are generically race of black people. Ham was a black man. Verse 9. Now, identify Nimrod. Who is Nimrod? These are the bad guys. Ham. Here, Bible is explaining to us that Ham, who had been a bad guy, has been living in a bad way. Verse 9. Bible said, he was a mighty, who is that? Nimrod. He was a mighty hunter before Yahweh. Wherefore it was said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahweh. What does that mean? Even, they said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before Yahweh. He was a mighty hunter. Mighty hunter, that means he was strong. Stronger than all others of his peers. He was strong. And he helped to build the city of Babylon. Nimrod is a Babylonian, okay? Hunted animals. This name, Nimrod, represents a hunter of animals. Deers, fowls, rabbits, wild bulls, lions, all manner of terrible animals. He was a champion. Now, that's what made him a very strong person, a very powerful hunter. And Assyrian tablets or writings show that he was a warrior. He was noted as a warrior, not just a warrior that can kill animals, but he was a warrior also destroying human beings, killing human beings. He was powerful, killing human beings, defeating human beings. And what made him so powerful was his, zeal, the ability to construct, to build. He built first empire. So he was a builder. And also he was a tyrant beast. Because he had power to kill. He assumed he had power to kill. Remember in Genesis, Yahweh says, nobody shall shed blood, human blood. But for him, it was a way of life. Nimrod represents rebellion. His first empire was Babel or Babel. That is ancient Babylon, located in the land of Shinar. Now, Shinar is somewhere where Abraham came from, in Babylon, in the west side of that Shinar is where Abraham came. That was his native land. And it is called the modern day Iran. Abraham came from Iran, that part of the world. Nimrod built other cities, Erech, Akkad, Calneh, in the land of Shinar. So all these areas were dominated by Cush and was powerfully ruled by Nimrod. So he was exemplary leader, tyrant leader, wicked leader in that matter. Nimrod built other cities, Erech, Akkad, Calneh in the land of Shinar. Ashur, who is Ashur? Verse 11. Ashur is also Nimrod, but it's a name that was given to him by the Assyrian people. It's an Assyrian name. So Nimrod and Ashur and Nimrod, yes, is the same thing, the same name. Talk about change of name by particular tongue or language. So, by virtue of how the Assyrians saw him, they gave him Ashur. Built Nimrod or Ashur here built 3 more fabulous cities within the Assyrian environment at the heart of Assyria. Nineveh, number 1, number 2, Rehoboth, and Kala. Now, what I'm trying to deduce here from Ashur is how language can twist or can change name of location, name of people, name of particularly what we have today, what is handed to us today as name of Yahweh, name of Yahshua. How human names can easily change, and name of our Creator. And when a name changes from its first original meaning, now the translation going forward will not bring exactly the meaning or the originality to which it is given to achieve whatever that it is proposed for. Nineveh, where are we? Language changes names, thus corrupts the original names and the meaning that is given to it. So at the end of it, it can't achieve its purpose. Sometimes same name may have 3 or 4 different names depending which nation that person resides, which or what era the biblical account was actually written versus when the recorded event actually happened. This is saying that name changes. What brings about the changes? The particular location, the particular people, when that changes or translation was made, and for what purpose. So it can happen in an event, it can happen in name, it can happen in anything. Now, let us take example of this kind of change that Bible is talking about. Translation or transliteration, particularly translation. Translation of a name is where you change a name, it will lose its spelling, it will lose its pronunciation, it will lose its meaning. Transliteration, gathers the meaning a bit, and spelling comes close to the original. But at the end of the day, it does lose some, aspects of the truth behind it, or the purpose to which it is to serve. Now let us look at the name Rick or Ricky. The name Rick, Americans call it Rick. Completed to, when the Spanish handles it, they call it Ricardo. See, it has changed from Ricky to Ricardo. You find out that spelling has changed. The meaning also will change, and the purpose for which that name was meant will change. So, but when it also moved into Brazil, they say Ricardo. So, there, it speaks has a different sound, different spelling, and the purpose or the meaning will automatically change or got lost. So the originality will disappear. The originality will disappear. Name lost. Similarly, our Father in heaven, Yahweh, and Yahshua was lost through this means. the Jews, the Israelites, the early fathers, they said, no, let us call him, let us find a softer name. Let us not call his name, otherwise he will kill us. I have not seen in the Bible where Yahweh says, if you call my name, you will die. He gave it as a commandment that we should not, call his name in vain, abuse his name, insult his name. No, we cannot do that. Or remove or change, exchange, blaspheme or profane his name. We cannot do that. So he warned us against abusing his name. But he didn't say, don't use it. So where did they get the notion that they have to change his name? No one can do that except Satan, that can, impute that into somebody's mind. So Israelites did it, and the name of Yahweh was lost to even our generation. That makes it difficult today for people to believe the Bible when they read. What they see there is the Lord. Instead of Yahweh, they read the Lord, Baal. So where did they get it? From Japheth. Did they separate themselves? No! Separation never come into their head. But Yahweh, from in the wilderness, was warning them, don't entangle yourself. Don't mention the name of their idol or the name of their God. And that was what happened. So Baal, the Lord, was brought in amongst the Israelites. And today it fills the Bible. Baal by different nations, e.g., Ninos, Zeus, Isos, Isis, Jesus, or looking at it from the Babylonian side, Nimrod now goes with it as Ninos, Marduk. This was associated, all these names were associated with Nimrod. Molech. Now, when it comes all the way to Greeks, from Babylon, move to Greeks, they have Zeus. They have Zeus. Canaanites, they have him as Marduk and Molech. Greek also have him as Isos. And the Romans had him as Isos. And the English had him as Jesus. This is Baal. And who is the author? Nimrod. Nimrod is the author. Now, we want to further look at from verse 13 there, which says, verse 13, and Mizraim begat Ludim, and Ananim, and Lehabim, and Naphtuhim. All these are still names of the children of Ham. We are told something that has great impact on our current event. Mizraim, son of Ham, the line of evil, cursed Elohim. Mitraim fathered a people called the Cushlichim. From the Cushlichim descended the dreaded Philistines. Now, this is simply telling us how the Philistines came on board. Mizraim, through Mizraim, the Philippines, or the Philistines, came on board. We can see that somebody like Samson wrestled with the Philistines. Somebody like David also wrestled with Philistines. I think Goliath came from there also. And we need to remember that the modern word for Philistine is Palestine. Palestine. The Palestinians of today claim to be the descendants of the Philistines, who are descended from Ham. In fact, that is not true. The bulk of the Palestinians fighting the Israeli Jews every night on TV are Arabs from various areas of Middle East who came as migrants to the Holy Land area over the last 75 to 100 years, seeking work on Jewish farms and in Jewish factories. And Arabs are not from the line of Ham. Arabs are from the side of Shem. They are not from the side of Ham. Arabs are not Africans. Arabs, are part of Shem. They are from the line of Shem. That said, the fact is that many of Israel on a physical level by converting and becoming a Jew. So, can a person become a Philistine by identifying with the Philistines? Many Palestinians, Arabs have given up their heritage of the line of God, that is from Shem, to join the line of evil, Ham. Unfortunate. They as have most Arabs, also given up the Semite Elohim. All these people the Arabs, who has sided the children of Ham, have left the way of Yahweh. So, unfortunately, part of the people that we're supposed to say they are the good seed, they left their way. They never separate themselves. So, some of them either joined the children of Ham, and some also rebelled and joined the children of Japheth. Now, Yahweh is calling us today and saying, what are you doing? Look at Genesis. Look at how he's been, making sure that he's choosing seed, so that you know where you're falling. Have you fallen to the children of Ham? Have you fallen to the children of Japheth? Because those Ham and Japheth, both of them, are what is causing the darkness of today. What is called the Babylon of today. What is called the evil of today. So they are architects of that. And here he's saying, if you are mine, the product of good, don't join them. They, as have most Arabs, also given up the Semite Elohim Yahweh for a false god, Allah. So the Arabs, instead of holding to Yahweh, they have joined the children of Ham to worship Allah. And they are going to be judged for it and punished for it as well. And we need to pray for them so that they can wake up in these latter days, because it's not too late. We can pray for them. So what we do when we pray, we remember such people who belong to children of Shem, the children of seed, who had veered out. Now, when we look at verses 15 to 18, 15 to 18, it offers us something there. And Canaan begat Sidon, the firstborn, and Het. So it's trying to explain about the children of Canaan. And we had mentioned there all these Gigashites, Jebusites, Amorites, and so on. And the Jebusite, verse 16, and the Jebusite, and the Amorite, and the Gigashite, and the Hivite, and the Arkite, and the Shinite, Sinite, and the Arvadite, and the Zamarite, and the Hamathite. And afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. So this is children of Canaan, how they spread abroad. And at the end of the day, They became the people of the Middle East. And Yahweh said to Israel, when you get there, crush them. Unfortunately, they failed. So we have seen children of Ham. How children of Ham departed from Yahweh and followed the idols of the world today, swim in Babylon as much as they can. And if we are blind, we don't understand from where all these things are originating, we join them. We behave as they behave. We follow their culture. We follow their value. And that will cause ruins. That will cause massive destruction. Yahweh will not be happy with such a person. So massively, all these people that they say they are Arabs, they misled themselves. Instead of following Shem, they followed children of Ham. Now, what of Shem? What of Shem? What of Shem? In verse 21, we read about Shem 21. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber. Shem, Eber. Who is Eber? This is the main thing that we are looking for. If you are talking about seed, the very seed that at the end of the day provides us key to who we are. Eber. Unto Shem also, the father of all children of Eber, the brother of Japheth, his brother of Japheth, the elder, Japheth. So the elder. So this elder here has a question mark. Is it the elder that Shem is the elder, or Japheth is the elder? So the context, many people are saying, is reading that Japheth is the elder. Well, if it is the elder, because of character, the elder was given to Eber. I mean to Shem, that beget Eber. So Shem has always, if you look at chapter 9, chapter 10, it has been Shem on the forefront. 21, 22. The children of Shem, Elam, and Asshur. Elam is a bad guy. Elam, Asshur. We saw Asshur somewhere up there. So how is it? This Asshur here is different from, because these people are from almost the same parental person, which is Noah. No doubt, along the line, they can bear similar names. So, Nimrod bred Asshur somewhere. So this is a different Asshur. So you don't mix it up. So this is a different Asshur telling us that he is from Shem. Now we have Asshur, Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram, and the children of Aram. So there you have Elam, Asshur, Arphaxad. Arphaxad. Don't know what I get it there. Arphaxad, that's not R there. And Lud, no R here. Lud, Aram. So how many of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are children of Shem. Now, this is the seed. The seed here is Eber. Eber. So what happened to this? Well, they make up the number of populating the world. Make up the number populating the world. But Yahweh is interested in Eber. Now, why is Yahweh interested in a particular person, in a particular family, or this race? Or this race we have Shem, we have Ham, we have Japheth. Why is, the offspring, Yahweh will pick one. In another offspring, Yahweh will pick one. In another offspring, Yahweh will pick one. Why is Yahweh, how does Yahweh name his seed? Why wouldn't Yahweh name all these particular people we have enumerated here, or the ones we enumerated in Ham? Can somebody help us? How is Yahweh getting his seed out of these nations within the table of nations we have been trying to construct? Hello?
Hello.
How is Yahweh, because I want you to understand what is going on. Yahweh is looking for seed. Seed must be good seed. Are we good? No. But he get the seed, he begin to work on the seed, refine the seed, get the seed, but the seed must be worthy to be called the seed or to be taken as the seed. How does Yahweh pick a particular seed, separate it from others, and begin to work on it? How does he do that? What makes him go for a seed?
Obedience.
Obedience? Yeah? Can I hear answers? Do you know what? How does Yahweh go for a particular person, race, or seed?
Yahweh sees the heart of the person.
See our heart.
He knows,
Yeah, okay. Our heart. So our heart is a hidden, it's quite a secretive place. Only him can see what is in it. Mm-hmm. So some people love doing things secretly, doing evil secretly, doing good secretly. He said what you do with your right hand, your left hand should, particularly when you are showing gesture, when you are, doing good things, you don't blow trumpet over it. You don't let people, I'm the one doing it, so that they will praise. If you receive praise, you're in trouble. Because that's why he said your left hand should not know what your right hand is doing. Okay, go on. Let's have more answers. How do you obtain seed that Yahweh is looking for?
I think he generally chooses his seed.
How does he choose? What makes him? What criteria?
So we've mentioned obedience. We've
Yes.
mentioned the heart.
Yes.
We've mentioned voice.
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Okay, doing. Doing what?
Good. Obedience to his word.
Doing the commandments.
Yeah.
Doing the law, doing the commandment, doing the Torah. Great.
Walk.
All those are work. It must be good work of Yahweh. Doing the good works of Yahweh. Great. Now, these are exactly what Yahweh. Do you remember in Exodus chapter 19, 5 and 6, where he said, hear his voice and keep his commandments? All right. And he said, by that they will be what? Peculiar people. Royal priesthood. His own choosing people. So he is always choosing. That is where we started. Yahweh is always choosing. He cannot choose you as his people, or royal priests, or ruler, or or the seed we are talking about, except you fulfill all these requirements. Except one is great with his heart, doing what he commands, all that he commands, hear his voice. That is the way to go. So that is why Eber came. Now, when you look at between Cain and Abel, you find a place that within that particular time, after Abel was murdered, there was no capable hands who was keeping doing the will of the Father as required until Seth was born. Seth took the Torah, Seth took the word and began to follow Yahweh all the days of his life. He said, at the birth of, from the time Seth was born, men began to call upon the name of Yahweh.
Of Yahweh.
That's what I read in the Bible. I don't know whether you read that as well. So
Yeah, that's true.
that is a choice. See how Yahweh, because he began to call upon, he began to follow Yahweh. He began to walk the way of Yahweh. That was when men began to hear the good news again. Like as he is telling us, go out also as you hear, teach others, preach to others. So that men will hear and men will begin to walk in that same way. So you find out that majority are lacking in things of Yahweh. Why? So that is why he is interested in those who love him. Love. The big word we have to choose here or put in here is love. Do you love him? If you love him, you fulfill all that we have mentioned. At least the first 5 commandments. If you love him. Not all in every generation, so many sell their heart to another instead of to Yahweh. And that is the problem. The line of good. So Eber is called the line of good. Because this seed is looking for good, for the good ones. So that's why I say it's the line of good. And Yahshua came and told us nobody is good. But he's looking for those that are good or that will be good. Will he find, when he returns, will he find those that are good? Will he find those that are faithful? Those that are obedient? Will he? So he's still searching. How will he get it? Love him. Throw your heart to him. It must be him first before you. You know what he said to us? If you will follow me, deny yourself. That's what he told us. And follow him. If you deny yourself, that means you love him more beyond yourself. You count him first before you think of yourself. You sleep, you think of him. You wake up, you think of him. You are walking, you think of him. You are walking on the road, you think of him. You are sleeping, you think of him. Everything you do, you think of him. If you are the type that does it, you are a seed. So that is what he's looking for. That is what you are studying. This is what you are laboring, speaking all this grammar. Amen. That is what is written in Genesis for us. The whole of that Genesis is, and the whole of Exodus, in fact, the whole of Torah is all about seed. It's all about seed. Notice we come across the name Asshur. I mentioned that before. As a son of Shem. Remember, this is not the Asshur who built Nineveh. That is Nimrod. That Asshur was simply the Assyrian name for Nimrod. Remember, Nimrod was called Asshur in Assyria. The Assyrians, he built a city in Assyria, 3 cities, magnificent cities in Assyria. The capital of Assyria is Nineveh. Don't forget. You remember Nineveh and Jonah. That is where Jonah was. Yahweh called Jonah, go to, in the land of Shem, to Jonah. Go to land of Nineveh. That is Assyria. Go to Iraq and lay message to them. If they don't repent, within some few days, they'll be gone. They'll be destroyed. And Jonah was trying to propose his own ideas. Yahweh said, okay, I will teach you a lesson. Threw him into the waters, through the mouth of the fish. He remained there 3 days and 3 nights. The first 3 days and 3 nights in the Bible, he spent it in the waters. By the time he woke up, after 3 days and 3 nights, he found himself in the shore of the land he didn't want to go. So let us stop rebelling against him. Amen. And do what he says we should do. Because if we refuse, if the person is cast away, Jonah was lucky. He was not swallowed by the fish. He was not churned. He was not crushed. He was preserved for 3 days and 3 nights. And after that, I think he respected Yahweh, despite he was a prophet. Remember, this is, okay, we've done that. Let me sum up the important aspect of this Shem of his seed. Now, Shem is referred to as the father of ancestor of the children of descendants of Eber or Eber. Ancestor of Eber or Eber. Descendants. It is from this name Abraham came to be. Seed. How is it that Abraham, the father of Abraham, was an idol worshipper? Terah and other brethren, they were idol worshipper. Then Abraham, there was something inside Abraham that was ministering to him, that you must be responsible. So it was working in him until Yahweh called him. He was responsible. He was following after the footsteps of Noah. He watched and he heard the story of Noah, and he lived with Noah even before Noah died. So he studied the great-great-grandfather. This is key to Hebrew history, because from the line of Eber will come another of Elohim's divisions, Peleg and Yoktan. So Eber begets Peleg and his brother. What's his name now? Yoktan. But you find out that Peleg and Yoktan didn't make much name. They didn't go further. But Eber went further. And through his offspring came Abraham and other people that we now read in the scriptures today. Dividing, selecting, electing. This is how Yahweh do his work. He divide. You see how he divided those 3 children of Noah. He divided them. Shem, Ham, Japheth. He divided them, singled them out in their individual fold, separated them, selected those who are appropriate, who are the rightful seed. So this is what you must watch out for. And you ask yourself, can I ever be selected by Yahweh? In the committee of nations, in the group of humankind or people, would I be identified, chosen? He calls us quite all right. He chose us quite all right. But at the end of the day, if you have not started separating yourself from the mixture of all kind of caliber of human beings, the person may miss being selected as a seed, the good seed of Yahweh. Watch for this. For this is a major theme that points to a way Elohim works his will throughout the Bible. And for that, Peleg means division. Peleg, division. One of the brothers is called division. Yoktan were brothers. Sons of Eber, that is Eber. Interestingly, Peleg means division, for from the line of Peleg came Abraham. So through Peleg, which we saw here, Abraham came on board. So we see here Eber, Peleg selected, then Abraham picked. While others, why are they falling away? Enjoyment. The world is too toxic. The world is too toxic and too tasty, too good. They can't do without drinking from the world, eating from the world. But the Bible said, come out from them. Don't drink their drink. Don't eat their food. Eat Yahweh's own food. Drink Yahweh's own drink. Walk Yahweh's own way of walk. Follow Yahweh. Be good.
Amen.
There's one chap. I worked with the chap. When you see him, you say, be good, be good. I mean, when he sees you, you say, be good, be good. He wants you to tell him, be good, be good. That means that day, he will be good. If you want to be calm, he said, tell me to be good. Be good, be good. So Yahweh is telling us, be good, so that you be selected. It is great thing to listen to him. It is great thing to listen to him. All right. We looked at the languages somewhere where Yahweh parted the world. Looking at Nimrod in holistic format now. We are told that up to the time of Nimrod, every person in the whole world spoke the same language. Apparently, people were despising at a very measured rate, and they stayed quite linked to the common language because they didn't separate themselves from each other. They just expanded like so much urban sprawl. Notice also which direction they expanded. East. They went east. There is that east word again, a word of importance for us. And here it has the greatest of meaning. Notice that the wording says they, that is meaning the bulk of Noah's descendants, came from the east to Shinar, rather than saying they moved to the east. Now, what you grab there is that for Nimrod as a person, he came from the land of Shinar. And Shinar was like a very major city in Babylon. The land of Shinar is a major city in Babylon. And throughout, when you talk about modern day of where Bible is referring to today, is Iraq. And that is the Persian Gulf. The Persian Gulf area. And they are rich in oil. They are so blessed. They were so deposited massive wealth in and around that area. But this Japheth exploited and used it against Yahweh. It's unfortunate. Up to today, the children of Yahweh, this Nimrod and people of Nimrod, that is how they have been rubbishing the blessings of Yahweh. Well, they'll pay for it. Now, did Nimrod found the city of Babel, which we now call Babylon, in the sense that it was he who planted a stake in the ground and said, build here. Probably not. He likely took over rulership at some point in the city's early developed. Now, that place has been existing. Nimrod was born into that environment, or he moved into that environment, so to speak. And he began to build, as the Bible told us, and expanded the area, developed it bigger, better than he met it. And he became champion of champions. People respected him because of the power to destroy, to build, and he was the first beast. Away from here is that Nimrod became the first beast because of vile nature, tyrant nature. He was reputed for, destruction. He had a reputation for making others, bow to him, worship him. And people saw him as a man that possessed enormous power, authority, and he controlled the people of his time, controlled the resources of his time, controlled the wealth of his time. And because of his domineering power, people bowed to him, and people saw him as all powerful. And no wonder they began to worship him. No wonder they began to serve him. And he designed for himself what he himself bowed to, the sun god, because he was a rebellious person. Sun god. That was what Nimrod was worshiping. This sun god was called Baal. And he got it from Satan himself. He rebelled against Yahweh. Yahweh says spread. He said no, cannot spread. Spread. No, cannot spread. They said, no, instead of us to spread and scattered here and there, let us build, a house or whatever together and live together. When he comes, we will march with him. We will stand against him. You cannot do it. So his name is called Rebellion, Mr. Rebellion. That was the beginning of the whole issue called rebellion today. He was a masterminder. It is apparent from the wording that even from the days of Noah, man was to scatter or to disperse, to repopulate the entire world. Move in, search out. Go out there and repopulate the whole earth. Those were Elohim's instructions. Those others hadn't been lost or forgotten. Yahweh remembers it and he knows it. And he was waiting for them, that instruction to be carried out. But that was not to be. They had simply, ignored the word of Yahweh. But now, at Nimrod's leadership, they set out to openly defile Elohim's order to disperse, as it says in verse 4. That is, we are looking at chapter 11 now. Chapter 11. Verse 4 says, and they said, go to, let us build. So they defied Yahweh's instruction. They said, instead, let us go and build a place for ourselves, cluster there, and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. They knew. Nimrod knew that Yahweh will scatter them, because he was acting on what? Disobedience. It's time for you to move. The whole earth is lying empty. Move and repopulate and fill the earth. No, it can't happen. We are good where we are. Let us. By the way, he began to query Yahweh. Why did you destroy the world? What the people who were there? What did they do to you? You destroyed the world. Then you want us to let us build together. Let us reside one place. Don't mind him. So he was afraid he will be scattered. So he said, okay, let us concretize ourselves one place so they cannot move us. So they began to build a tower, verse 5. And Yahweh came down. Did Yahweh come down? Yahweh cannot, because of human being, begin to walk the earth. He looked at them. They are still there. Okay. He gave order. That was it. They began to speak a different tongue. Began to misunderstand themselves. Began to hate themselves. Confusion started. That is why Shinar, Babylon, is called confusion. Place of confusion. Babylon is up to today. Babylon is a confused. The world is confused. The world is lying in confusion up to today because of the act of Nimrod and his cohorts. And Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And Yahweh said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they were imagined to do. You know, if you want to destroy a nation, that's how the children of Japheth destroyed Africa, destroyed other nations they colonized. They quietly removed their language from them and introduced English, introduced Portuguese, introduced Spanish, introduced. Now the people at the end of the day get hold of them. They became their mother nations. Those nations become their mother, mother powerful nation that they will rely upon because of language. Want to deal with a nation, give a nation another language, that nation will never be itself again. Never, never. Unless they stop going after your language and discover a common language. Africa has been thinking of a common language, lingua franca. For where will it come? Because Africa is Ham. Ham is a servant to Shem, and servant. Unfortunately, even Shem lost his birthright, and Ham is not even serving him. So both of them are serving Japheth. Both of them are serving Japheth, the Europeans. And that is where everybody is today. Ham is in rebellion. Shem is in rebellion. And their problem or their trouble continues until they have a change of heart. Deliverance will be a problem. And Yahweh is calling us. We are the people that are going to have that change of heart. Or else there is going to be problem. Massive problem is coming. Okay. I think we want to rest it here. Next week we continue from this verse 11. We get it trashed quickly, then we take it 11 and 12 together. Because 11, particularly chapter 12, which is the beginning of the call of Abraham, chapter 12 through chapter 17, if you grab what is there, you have done very well in the book of Genesis. Then the latter part of it is talking about the children of Isaac and Jacob. And there, if you get it solidly, plus the idea you have gotten in the book of Exodus during our Bible studies, which we have had already, though we may touch some few portion of it. You would have been, for you to understand the scriptures, you have to know Torah. And Genesis, Exodus is a core foundation, then followed by Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. If you grab these 5 books, naturally, Holy Spirit will just be ministering to you. When you read, you will understand. You read New Testament, because about 50%, or even more than 50% of what is written in the New Testament is picked from the Old Testament. All others are sayings of Yahshua, and particularly what those disciples heard Yahshua say, plus what they grabbed from prophets and Torah, So you will get there, and we get the knowledge, the basis of who we are, and what we are called, why we are called, why are you born? Can you explain why you are born? Why are you in this earth? Can you explain why you are and their mission, what you've been given to accomplish? And some of us will say, oh, I'm going to bear a big name, get big houses, big ship, big caterpillar, big this, big that, big this. At the end of the day, they cannot fetch you. Don't become Ham and don't become Japheth. May Yahweh bless you.
Amen.
Continue to separate yourself from evil, from wicked people, from enemy. Yahshua says, separate, 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 separate. Until he himself will now pick you and say, this is it. You enter the land. Amen.
Amen.
So that is what Torah is pointing to us, to let us understand what the seed is all about, and to ask yourself whether you are qualified. Or if you're not qualified, how can you qualify? How can you qualify? By obeying him, love him. That's how you qualify. Any query, observation, comments? No query.
Quite interesting.
No observation. Okay. I heard mommy say quite interesting. Yeah?
So, when Yahweh gave them different languages,
Right.
does it mean that they were just living in Shena and they didn't want to move to anywhere at all?
Genesis 11 verse 4, you can see it that they didn't want to go anywhere. In fact, because Nimrod was commander-in-chief, and these were, now get it there, it's not all the whole human beings. These were the children of Japheth. Children of, children of Ham and children of Japheth didn't want to go anywhere. They were like cooperating. But children of Shem, children of Shem, we are cooperating, particularly the offspring of Eber. You can see when Yahweh said, Abraham, move, Abraham moved.
Yeah.
Yahweh can at any point ask you to move. Even today, I came into this land at a time I began to ask myself, why am I in this land?
Yeah.
He asked me to move. But is it for good? These days I'm asking myself whether it's for good. And I'm asking Yahweh, is it for good? So here has the answer. Because at times you may move and move for good. At times you may move because he wants to show you something. When Apostle Paul was called, he asked Apostle Paul, move, leave Jerusalem, go to Arabia. And he stayed there for 3 years or 3.5 years. And he got trained. After the training, he returned. And he confessed that nobody taught him. It was the spirit of Yahshua that taught him the scriptures. Nobody taught him. So it has been like that. He's been, even in this our generation, he's still doing it. Okay. Any other query? What is the capital of Nineveh?
It was two. Oh, I don't know.
Huh? Okay. You can. Huh? No answer there.
There is answer there.
I thought you would correct me because I gave you the answer. No. I gave you the answer. The query that I asked was the answer that came out. I would have asked you what is the capital of Assyria. Then Nineveh. And Nineveh, I told you what happened to Jonah, how he was asked to go to Nineveh, Assyria. And if you read the book of Kings and Isaiah, particularly Isaiah 36 and 37, Sennacherib had encounter with, Hezekiah has encounter with Sennacherib. Sennacherib is from Assyria, Nineveh.
Yeah.
And they are wicked people, very, very wicked people.
Yeah.
And is idol. And at that earliest time, Yahweh warned them, if you don't repent, you are finished. And that king, as at that time, not Assyria, Sennacherib, he called them and they repented. They everybody entered into fast. And when Yahweh saw their hearts, he told Jonah, look, these people will not destroy them again. Jonah was, what are you talking? What are you saying? After all these houses, he was waiting to watch the nation of Assyria or Nineveh destroyed. But he was disappointed. And he wanted to blame Yahweh. Yahweh said, okay, I will show you an example. He said, okay. He let a sun to begin to hit him. All of a sudden, he began to find where he would have a shelter. Yahweh brought a big, something like a tree or so, with a wide leaf that can shelter him from that sun. So he ran there, he sheltered himself, he was happy. So a little while, that something dried, and the sun hit him again. So at the end, it taught him a lesson. If you will have such a pain, put yourself in the shoes of these people. If they were destroyed, how they will feel. And he learned a lesson. He changed his prayer. The prayer point changed. And that's why, like, what we are studying asks us to pray for the people of the Arabs. The Arabs were, children of Shem. But how they intertwined with children of Ham and they joined to worship Allah is something that is terrifying. Many people, nations have disappeared that way, particularly the new religion of today, and they worship whatever they like. Okay, let's pray. Let's conclude the meeting.